the TLI Alumni series, where today we are excited to meet with Larry Herrera, who is a TLI alumni from the 2019 cohort and who is a traffic engineer for the City of Tempe. Hey, Larry.
Hi. Hi, it's okay.
How are you today? Thank you for
I'm
being
pretty good. Thank you. It's okay.
So tell us, what is it exactly, what does it mean to be a traffic engineer for the City of Tempe?
Sure. So what I do is I work for the City of Tempe, located just east of Phoenix. And what we do is we review traffic plans, anything that has to do with traffic from sidewalk to sidewalk on public right-of-way. We review special events. We review traffic patterns, studies, signal intersections, and really anything that has to do for the betterment of the people and goods. So when we have traffic flow, whatever we can do to make it better, that's kind of what we traffic engineers do in the City of Tempe. So I've been doing that for about 8 years now, and it's always a challenge because every road is different and everybody's behavior is different too. So I really enjoy it.
Wow. So what led you to this career? Have you always wanted to be an engineer?
So what I did is I started in about 1992. I started working for a barricade company, and I was filling sandbags in the yard. And what I ended up doing was I ended up really getting interested in how they put up barricades and how they close the roads down. And I always thought, well, you could do it this way, you could do it that way. And then one thing led to another, and eventually I was promoted to driver, and then eventually to dispatch, and then I was designing traffic plans. And then I realized, I've got a sort of a gift. And I always knew I could, analyze things, and I was good at breaking things down and trying to make them better. So I always thought, man, I should really get into this. And about 10 years ago, I finally went back to school and I chose the major of engineering because that's what really just attracted me to it, was to be able to break something down and put it back together. You make it even better, always attracted me. So I really, wanted to go into that. And then my passion is traffic, of course, is trying to make things better for other people. So I stuck with it, and here I am today. So here I am.
Wow. So in a previous conversation that we had, you had mentioned that you are one of 3 of the traffic engineers for the city.
Correct.
What kind of pressure do you feel? Because that seems like a big responsibility to be in charge of that.
So the biggest pressure I feel is when residents call me and they've been waiting for somebody to answer their question, or when they've been waiting for a long time, because I don't like to make people wait. As one of my values is to be able to give people what they need, not what they want, because a lot of times there's a difference. If somebody gets something right away, it's instant gratification, versus something that they need. It's long-term, it's going to fix their problem, not just one problem, but many problems. So I always make sure that I'm prompt, that I'm on time, and I try to make sure that everybody I talk to really gets what they need from myself and also from my job, my employer, which is government. So that's probably one of the biggest things I'm always concerned with. But I make it day by day, so we make it happen.
Wow. Well, I also know that you do volunteer work, that you help out in the school boards, and that you also help foster kids. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So I got my younger children go to the school district that I'm in, Washington Elementary, and I got involved because I wanted to find out how can I make kids' lives better. And I always told myself, if I ever got to a point where I could give back, I would do that. And when I started first, I just started volunteering in the PTAs, and then eventually I started, run for school board. And then, voila, here I am. And I really started diving into the education policy of how we make things happen, how we set direction and policy for our district. And right now we have about 25,000 families in the Washington School District. It's a state's largest elementary school district. So very proud of that. It's 58% Hispanic. So that's another reason, that I'm very proud of to serve. And then also I volunteer for CASA, which is Maricopa CASA, which is a section of Arizona Department of Children's Safety, which is DCS. And CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocate. And what we do is we represent a child in a foster care situation, and we're the voice of that child to the judge. We report directly to the judge, and we write out reports, and we visit the child once a month, and or twice a month, as much as we can. And then we advocate for that child's best needs. So that child needs more counseling, more medication, more schooling, clothes, whatever anything is the health and wealth of that child, we advocate for that child. So it's a volunteer position. Both of these are volunteer positions. I don't get paid for them. There's absolutely zero monetary value on these. The only thing is the satisfaction of doing something good and giving back. And I think for me, that's what's more important. So that's kind of a little bit about my volunteer work.
That is so beautiful. Oh my goodness.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for that volunteer work.
Absolutely.
What was it that sparked that fire for you to go out and give that amount? That sounds like a lot of work that you do. Apart from being a traffic engineer, you give yourself completely to the school board and foster kids. How did that come about, and how do you do it?
Well, it first started out because I always wanted to be some sort of engineer, because when I was about 8 years old, I lived in South Central Glendale, which is south of the railroad tracks. And for 1 week, it had been raining constantly. So there was puddles everywhere. And I remember crossing the road. It was 59th Avenue at the time. And there was a large puddle. So I thought, oh, I'm going to walk through this. Well, the puddle ended up being a giant hole. It wasn't barricaded. It wasn't, roped off or caution tape and anything. So I walked through it, and I thought it was a puddle, and I fell right into that hole. And my entire body was drenched. As I got out and I walked home drenched water, I always told myself, one day I'm going to be somebody that represents this road or any road and make sure I make it safe for everybody else. And that's kind of why I do what I do, because I'm always thinking back to my own experience. And then also too, the volunteer work that I do is, like I said earlier, is I give back because, I was one of those children that had a rough childhood, that my brother passed away when I was 10, and it sent my family into a whirlwind when I was 10, 2 years later, my parents divorced, which is what happens to 90% of drowning families victims. They end up in divorce. So we divorced, and we ended up one parent household, and it was very, very tough for me to adapt to that. So I got to really, really know how some of these kids, what they're facing and what they have to go through without any kind of, guidance or somebody that's, a father figure in their life. So I really understand and get to know them. And I always told myself, when I get to the point in life where I'm going to help these kids, I'm going to help them because I can do it. And if I can shape somebody's life to become somebody like me, that's my ultimate goal in life. And at the end of the day, when I'm on my bed and I'm asking God is, hey, did I make somebody's life better? And my response is going to be, yes, I did. So that's it. And how do I do it? I guess I do it day by day. I'm very, very organized. I like to be very efficient. I like to be very on point. I like to be very thorough. One of the things I always like to do is I always like to make sure that I give above and beyond or deliver more than I promise. I built a vast network of friends over the last 7 to 10 years. And I think a lot of it has to do with how I treat people and how I'm, how I'm effective towards people. I want to make sure that, like Maya Angelou said, it's people remember how you made them feel, not what you said. So I always try and go that extra mile so that I can make sure that people feel good by the things that I do, so not by what I say. So that's pretty much it.
Wow. So you seem, like you said, you're very organized, and so you seem to be a very much more like logical, as like engineers are, like stereotypical, are more
Sure.
logical based. So what advice would you give to those who are struggling with trusting God because they have a struggle to combine their logic with faith?
I would recommend and give them their advice to don't give up. One of the best advices given to me was hang in there, and that was it. Smile and hang in there. And, for me, it's hard because I can relate, because I started with the lowest math 082, I think it was, all the way to differential equations, so I started off every single math class I could. And then I kept some of these classes, I took them over and I didn't know. So what I used to do is just write them out and then keep trying. And I started at a later age. So for me, it was even harder because a lot of that stuff had gone away. So I would really tell people that, in my position, to trust in God and have faith and pray every day, and make sure that if you pray for guidance and clarity and vision, it'll come to you. Eventually, you're going to be able to put in the time and the effort necessary to get through it. and it's really, college is hard, but it's much easier when you have God by your side, because if you pray and you know you're doing as much as you can, good things will happen. And I firmly believe that when you do something on good merit, good things happen to you.
Yeah. So it's like you have a very, very strong relationship with God right now. Has it always been that way?
No, it hasn't. So, about 15 years ago, I was making a lot of money for the city of Phoenix. And what happened was I was under the belief, because my brother had passed away, that had affected me so bad that I always thought to myself, well, I don't believe in God, because why would he do this to me? So for a long time, I didn't believe in God. I was under the impression, like, my response was, if there's a God, where is he? And I remember going up to the pastor one time at St. Jerome's Church and saying, if Jesus is the answer, then what is the question? I'm a man of science. I believe something when I see it. That was my stance. And then when I lost the job at City of Phoenix, I remember, like, maybe a month in, couldn't get a job anywhere. And I remember myself in my bedroom. I got down on my knees. I started crying, and I started praying to God. I said, God, if there is a God, I'm sorry. I believe in you. I know that this can work, and it's not going to work without having faith and being blessed by you. So please help me out. And then a couple of weeks later, I started getting phone calls. And one thing led to another. I got a job. And then a couple months later, I kept praying and praying and praying. And eventually I ended at City of Tempe. And I'll tell you what, that was by far probably the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I can tell you one thing right now, that I'm a test to my testimony. I was that. And I was somebody who just didn't believe. And because it didn't happen for me. And for me now to see me where I'm at today, beyond, God has given me beyond and above what I really deserve. But he recognized that I have charisms and talents and skills and abilities that I need to give back. And I think he's put me in a position where that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give back. And it's not that I necessarily want the credit, because I've got a wall full of credit already, 40 under 40 awards, all these awards, but they don't mean much if it's not me. And today, this is the real me. This is what you see is what you get. When you see me volunteering or doing this and that for other people, that's me. That's who you get. So that's it.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for your testimony. How did TLI impact your faith in your career? Or more so, how was TLI able to combine the two?
So when I first started getting involved in TLI, I met with Christopher, and I wanted to make sure that TLI aligned with my values. And I said to him, I don't want to go into another program, because I've been through hundreds of them, and I wanted to go into a program where I was really going to make an impact, where I would be able to make an impact, not just when the class was going on, but years after, helping other people, mentoring other people that were going through it, and being able to guide with conscience, and being able to bear witness in the decisions that I made as an elected official, or as in my job, or to be able to just to help people, help one another. And TLI has really reversed my entire thought process. So I was once a non-believer. I'm a believer today. What I would do how I would feel and do to other people, no longer that, no longer the person that I used to be. I'm as pure and as genuine as you can get today from what I was 3-4 years ago. And I can tell you one right now, I love the new me, because I'm not worried about anything. I know who I am, what I am, where I'm going. I'm with God. So TLI has really reshaped my life to say, you're just you, and that's all I need. And I don't worry about if my boss is going to like me, or if I'm good doing my job, or if somebody else if I'm going to fit in, because I know that I fit in with God. So with me, that's all I need. That's all I need. Yeah.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So the way that I'm going to be asking every person I interview this question, what leader inspires you and why?
Leadership what?
What leader
So
inspires
can you repeat the question? I would say Senator Kirsten Sinema. She has inspired me since I met her. And the reason being is that because she's not just authentic, but she's purposeful. And when I say that, is everything that she does it with, she's very wise to perform, but few words. And what I've learned from her is how to handle things diplomatically, not just with politics, but also with my job, with my household, with anything, my friends. Instead of, so you hear something bad from somebody, instead of going right to them and accusing them, you hear to wait the facts out. You hear to wait the things that really matter. And sometimes it's not, if the answer is right in front of us. So I think for me, she's really made an impact in my life. And I really like to follow a lot of her footsteps because she's basically started from the bottom, and now she's somewhere where she can really use her name to give back. And she does that. And I think for me, it's that selfless care and that selfless love, that to give back. And a lot of those things that she does those things. So for me, I want to be somebody who is widely well recognized, widely well respected, and also that I'm in alignment with God, with my values and everything that I do. So that's it.
I love that. Thank you so much for speaking with us today, Larry. We are going
Welcome.
to end today with our TLI prayer. If you would join
Okay. Absolutely.
in the name of the Father,
Okay.
and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Holy Spirit.
Oh, Mother,
O Mother, strengthen the faith of our brothers and sisters in the Lady, so that in every field of social, professional, cultural, and political life they may act in accordance with the truth and the law brought by your Son to mankind. Saint Juan Diego, pray for us.